All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to our demo roadmap webinar for vulnerability management. It's a new feature we're doing here at Enable. I'm really excited to be driving that project for us. Obviously, a few legal disclaimers, forward-looking information, potentially nothing's final, everything's up for grabs, and trademarks. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Geoff Green. I'm a product manager at Enable. Um, so I'm responsible for the vulnerability management product. In a prior life, I was CTO for an MSP that served mid-market customers. I've been on your side of the wall, as it were, and I'm really excited about some of the stuff we're doing in this space because it's near and dear to my heart. I used to live this every day, so I'm excited to kind of show you what we've started cooking up, and then also, uh, get your feedback on what we're doing and show you what we've got coming up next. So that's kind of the agenda. What that we're going to cover today. As we go, there will be a live demo, and as you know, with live demos, something will obviously go wrong, and we'll roll with it. But um, here's for hoping that all goes well. So let's get started. So the first thing that I want to kind of cover um, is, let me make sure I'm in the right place here. Yep, I am. So why are we doing vulnerability management as Enable, right? And why should you do vulnerability management uh, as an MSP or an IT shop? I think it's probably pretty self-apparent, but you know, protecting your endpoints from errors, issues, breaches is kind of almost a full-time job for us in this industry, and they're the place where the user interacts with uh, the data that you're trying to protect, the services you're trying to provide, and the risk is highest because that's where someone can click on something and an unremediated vulnerability can really open you up to risk. So uh, we kind of have this view that IT management and security management go hand in hand. So as you look at our tool sets, especially around our remote monitoring and management platforms, N-central and N-sight, it seems like that's a natural native place to manage things like vulnerabilities. You're already potentially managing patch management, but patch management is just a piece of vulnerability management, right? There's more to do with vulnerabilities than just patch them. Sometimes you can't even patch them. So as we move into the future with our RMM platforms and we move towards that, what we call the unified endpoint management in more of a cybersecurity stance, this is kind of key to getting a handle on what risks you're managing. So we kind of view this through a a workflow, right? You may have a similar workflow. There are many frameworks that have workflows like this, but effectively, we need to inventory the assets that we have, which you're probably already doing with your RMM, which is why it makes sense to do it with inside of Enable. We need to identify the vulnerabilities that exist on those assets, prioritize them, and then remediate them. Um, Prioritizing the vulnerabilities is sometimes a challenge, and we're going to talk a little bit about what we're going to do in some of the next steps of this solution to handle that. And then remediation, you're already potentially remediating some of those things with your RMN today, uh, or you're manually remediating them using things like take control. So to take over that box. So we'll kind of walk through some of those next steps as well. So as a disclaimer, though, you're going to see today in the demo what's already possible, what's already in the product. I'm going to show you what's there. It's live. You can go in and play with it today. Um, but you're also going to see some futures, and that's okay. But not everything that you see is available today. What you see in the demo is available today, but some of the other things we're going to talk about, some of the other things we're going to show you, they're coming soon or not soon, depending on how big of a lift they are. So just keep that in mind as we go along through this. So for those of you who have N-central or N-sight, and you're running the latest version, for those of you with N-central, you're on premise, you need to be running 25.2 release, and have your analytics and cloud opt-in running and using enable login. For N-sight, or if you're running N-central hosted or on demand, those should have this enabled. So if you don't see it um, in your environment already, or haven't gone looking for it, uh, definitely open a support ticket, ping me. I'll have my contact information here shortly in the presentation. We'll definitely get you set up. But this is turned on already. There's no onboarding. There's um, no checkboxes you need to check, or other hoops you need to jump through. Right. So if you're running the latest greatest version of N-sight or N-central, you should be already good to go. So scanning for Windows, Linux, and Mac applications. So started with third-party applications. Mac just released maybe a week ago. So if you've been playing with vulnerability management for a while, go back and check. You should see your Mac endpoints now. So Mac, Windows, and Linux, all applications that are on those installed on those endpoints, we're scanning, we're inventorying. Um, you've got inside of N-central, you've got role-based access controls who can see this information is manageable inside of N-central and N-sight as well. You can create custom permissions to custom roles to let you see or not see vulnerability management. We've got the same kind of filter builder that you've come to expect from the newer asset view information view that we've introduced over the last year, the Ecoverse views. Um, but we've also got the ability to now, relatively new, the ability to group those vulnerability detections that we have by CVE. So you can see not just what vulnerabilities exist on one endpoint, but also you can cross tab it the other way, see the vulnerability, and see how many assets are at risk from that vulnerability. Um, we also have added just recently the CVE details pane, so you can slide out, get some details, see some information, roughly the same information you could get if you plug that CVE into NIST. But it's good to have it right there in front of you, and you can link out to it. I'll show you that in the demo. Um, but also we've added some other things around, is there a patch available for that CVE? Is there an ability to see link through to the asset so you can start taking some actions? Really excited about this. We've actually added the ability to export the view, so you can take this information out of N-central or N-sight. You can take it out of the view, put it into a CSV file, and manipulate it, manage it in Excel. So you can start, you know, maybe massaging this data a little bit more in depth than you can inside of our UI. And I'll drill through some of this stuff in the demo. But this is what's live today. It may not seem like a lot, but it's a lot. I want to show it to you. Of course, I'm going to need to log in again. But that's okay. Yep. So if you're in N-sight, you'll see a slightly different view navigation bar, but you'll still see this vulnerabilities link. If you're in N-central, you see this vulnerabilities link. So this drills us into this vulnerabilities view. And you can see here, I've got all of the detections for my environment. I can drill into a given customer and change the context, but I'm just going to stay here. So you've got all of the detections. You've got the ability to see what are the affected products, what site. You can also sort and search by this. So I can select and sort by customer. So I can just apply that as a filter. And then that filter is also building the filter builder. So if you're If you feel more comfortable building the filter first, you can do that, or you can just build the filter by um, using these column headers, right? So you can sort, you can filter, you can clear the filter, you can turn off and on columns. If you haven't seen this view in the assets view, same kind of UI. Um, then you've also got the ability to export. So you can export all the data in the table, like every entry. It's 5,218 entries in my table, so I could just export them all. If you've got more than 10,000 rows, we're working on a way to get you a better experience. We found that if you let you go with exporting more than 10,000 rows in one go, it kind of just hangs the browser. So if you have more than 10,000 rows, we just ask you to filter it, chop it up, and then select the rows you want to export. But if you've got less than 10,000 rows here, you can just smack the button. It'll drop it out into a CSV right there from that export. So in addition to the vulnerability here, right, I can also get to directly, if I wanted to drill into, um, let's say I've got this CVE, feels unresolved, it's critical, I need to go take a look at that. I can click through straight to the device details and N-central, where this would take you to a filtered view for just that asset in N-sight. And you can drill straight in, and then you can start doing things like remote control, run a patch management if patch management was turned on for this particular asset. Take a look at the asset itself, look at the details, look at the patches, so on and so forth. So straight from this vulnerabilities view, if you see something that you don't like, you can drill straight into it and start acting on it. The other view that we've added is this listing of by vulnerability. So you can see here, I've got all of my vulnerabilities listed. Change the filter there. So here are my most critical vulnerabilities. I can also sort it by how many assets are at risk. So I've got this vulnerability, it's important, and I have 7 assets at risk. I can take a look at the vulnerability details for this. So again, I can drill in and see what is the info for this. I can link out to the source of that vulnerability. This one in particular is Chrome, so it's going to take me to Google. I can also see what software versions are affected. Here it's just telling me that I've got these 3, but if I find let's see if I can find a better one here. That'll give me, I mentioned this is a live demo, so it's gonna do what demos do. Yeah. So that it should bring up a listing of the various different impacted softwares here. Of course, it's gonna be persnickety at the moment. But then you can also drill into that list of assets at risk and then see each of the assets, and you can link through to them, or you can take actions as well. So you can, for instance, if I had the ability, if this asset was online, I could reboot it, right? So the actions that you're used to seeing in in the assets view here, right? The same actions you used to see in here, where you can take those actions, remote access to reboot. Those are going to start to also filter into this assets at risk view. So you'll be able to manage and take actions here on a given asset. So here you can see I could take remote access of this asset because it's online and available. And one of the other things that will be coming will be multi-select actions. So I'll be able to select multiple actions, multiple devices, and take actions as well. Don't have that yet. It's coming. So that's kind of a quick walkthrough of what we have right now. Like I said, it feels like not a lot, but it's probably a lot more um, than a lot of folks expect. We've heard a lot of feedback around, I want to be able to do more with this. I need to be able to see more. We definitely understand that. And that's one of the things that I want to drive into is what we're doing about, enhancing this and building it out. So I'm going to go ahead and hop back over to what's next. So what we're looking to do next is get a little bit more intelligence around what that vulnerability is. Right now, we've got basically CVSS score, severity, um, the various different pieces of that. But we understand that that's really not just the only measure of risk that help you uh, prioritize vulnerabilities. So we'll be adding um, CISA-KEV, the known exploit uh, listing from CISA. So if it's being actively exploited or there's a known exploit, we'll add that flag, and that'll be in there, and that'll be a sortable column. You'll be able to prioritize based off of that. Also, for MITRE attack, um, we're also going to include the CWE, the common weakness enumeration, to kind of give you a sense of where does that vulnerability really live in the attack framework. So those will be added, in the coming weeks. We'll also be expanding from third-party applications, which is just kind of applications installed on Windows, Linux, and Mac. We'll be expanding that to include the actual operating system and operating system modules. So I think Windows Update, or you know, uh, OS version upgrades for Mac, or Package Manager for Linux. So we'll be adding those as well. Um, they may, if they have a CVE listed, obviously we'll keep that as a consolidated CVE listing. But we're looking at some of those vulnerabilities or packages that come from the operating system side don't always have a CVE listed to them. Some of them are quality updates as opposed to security updates. So there may be a secondary way that you can view those missing updates or those recommended updates as well. You'll also start to see vulnerability information filter into that assets view. So the same place you can go and look at the asset and determine, you know, how much RAM is in it, what size hard disk does it have. You'll also be able to start seeing how many vulnerabilities does it have. What's the kind of threat threshold for that asset based on the vulnerabilities it has. Drill into those vulnerabilities through the asset view, not just through the vulnerability view. Um, and obviously, we've heard and we know, it's part of the vision, right? If you can see the thing and know about the thing and manage the thing, you can secure the thing. So getting to a point where you can take patch now remediation action directly from the asset or from the risk that's identified, getting to a point where you can scan now, you can run a script, you can remove the software. Adding those additional remediation actions is definitely coming down the road in the next quarter and beyond. Also, that data grid screen, while it's good for presenting a lot of information, it's not terribly interactive. It doesn't help you visually prioritize kind of the risks at hand. So we're going to be adding widgets, donuts, filters, things of that nature. Same things you see in the assets view today. You'll see a similar kind of data layout in the vulnerability management area to give you better summary, visual cues as to how good or bad a given customer or your entire estate is. You'll see, how many systems are vulnerable versus not, how many critical versus, severe versus low priority vulnerabilities exist. How many are being exploited versus not. So you'll be able to see those in kind of dashboard widgets, and you'll also then be able to filter the list through those widgets, and they'll be interactive. So those are some of the things that we're doing in the short term, kind of what's next. I'm going to take a breather real quick and throw out a poll though, and ask, you know, while we're doing this, how are you currently managing your vulnerabilities, right? Um, are you using our tool that we just launched? Maybe, hopefully not exclusively, because I know it's not all the way done. But are you using other enable tools? Are you using third-party tools? So I'll leave the poll open for a little bit here. And as I kind of move on to the next section. And the reason we're asking questions is because your feedback absolutely is powering our roadmap. So if you have been inside the solution, the offering, If you have um, been inside the vulnerability management section, there is there's a feedback button. I'll show you where that's at. Um, we're getting feedback all the time, and we're hearing you, right? Uh, when we initially launched, we were like, "Hey, where's Mac support?" Well, it's there. It's live. We heard, I need to be able to export this. It's there. Um, we're working on those, actions and the asset centric views. So your feedback, your commentary is absolutely what we are using to drive our roadmap. So there's kind of the results. As expected, a fair chunk of folks are using third party tools, and those of you that are using our tools, great, thank you. And for those of you that are doing manual processes or not yet doing it, we're hoping that our solution will get you to where you need to go. So super excited to see that. Um, so as we kind of get to um, a couple other things, I do have a couple more polls that I want to ask questions about, but I want to show you where in the application you can give that feedback. Right. So um, if you're in vulnerability management, there will be a share your feedback button. So, and you're allowed to submit multiple feedback as well. So if you've already pressed the button and you've come along and found something else, press the button again. Please do. Um, as we're looking at that, I'm going to throw another poll up here and ask, how many of you have actually been in there, have been using it, um, and if you're in there and you see something, leave feedback. If you've got an idea, if you've got things that um, you want to see us do, absolutely, get us going. Make a comment, make a suggestion. Uh, I or one of my colleagues will definitely be responding as well. Great. Um, one more poll to share. Um, so for those of you that are using it, um, what do you find most useful? And then one last question, then we'll open up the Q&A. Hi, looks good. Pretty evenly split on various different things. So like that. So one of the areas that we're looking to explore into, and I'm sure this will come as no shock to anyone because it seems to be the buzzword of the moment. But we're looking at how we could use AI to make this somewhat arduous process of managing a whole bunch of detail, a whole bunch of data, um, looking at how we could use that to help. So the question is not necessarily what should we do to help, but how comfortable would you feel if AI were making recommendations? Um, just curious as to see if, is AI just the buzzword or is AI something that you would want to see be used? And that's 60 some odd folks, 6%. So, yeah. So, mostly comfortable, I would say. And we probably will look to make recommendations first before we just let the AI start applying patches and so on. For sure, not mostly, for sure that will be the path. But yeah, so it's good to see that people are interested in maybe taking advantage of some of that AI capability that we're looking to build into this solution. So um, before I get into the full Q&A and start opening up for discussion, um, I think it's important, if you don't want to share or you have other things that you want to do, or you want to have a one-on-one with me or someone else on the team, um, we want your involvement, right? We're here to ask for your involvement in going on this journey together. So in Enable Me, there's a vulnerability management preview group. Some of you are probably in that already. If you're not, join it. We'll, it's a discussion group. It's a community, so it's a forum that you can ask questions, we can respond. We can ask questions, you can respond. So definitely, if you're not a member of that group and you're interested in the work we're doing with vulnerability management, for sure, join that group and Enable Me. There's a link there to schedule a time with me to one-on-one, and answer your questions, walk you through anything in detail. If you just got a thought, you want to get it off your chest, I'm always open for customer conversations. Love talking to folks in the industry who are I'm hopefully solving problems for. So definitely feel free to use that link to schedule some time. And then the last link there that I would ask ask you to do. It's a little bit more involved than the quick surveys we did. It's about a 15-minute survey to talk about, try and get feedback on a number of things, right? Things like what other information should we be pulling in that we're not already pulling in that would be relevant to you in your vulnerability management? What other assets beyond endpoints, like network or cloud or SaaS, would make sense to bring into vulnerability management inside of the RMM platforms that we have today? Um, how would you expect, questions about how would you expect to prioritize? How would you expect to classify, um, uh, assets? Do you need to prioritize by business criticality, by framework, things of that nature? And then also, if you've got time, some questions around how you would expect the AI to work if we were going to build out an AI assistant or copilot or agent or something along those lines to help you with your vulnerability management. So if you have the time or have the interest, please take that survey. It will absolutely, much like all the other feedback, it will inform what we do, what we build for you. So I'm going to leave these links up in case you want to grab them, and then take a look at the questions and the chat. There are a number of questions. So I'll just start at the top and work my way down. So will there be a recording? Yes, I think so. Yes, that is very sweet. The link to the assets redirect to the root of the monitoring without any filter. Yes. That link, um, I'm not sure your question, Flavio, but are you saying link to the asset redirects to the root of the monitoring? No, the link to the asset will take you to the asset itself, the details. If you're in N-sight, it'll take you to, it'll basically create a custom filter for just that one asset. So, because N-sight doesn't really have the same kind of asset details linkage. So eventually that link will take you to the assets view link in the new Ecoverse view. We're just not there yet. Let's see here. Any plans on supporting more device types such as switches, firewalls, VMware, iDRAC, ILO, NAS? Yes. We would. Yes, we would. We are planning to at some point, but how quickly we get there is a question for that you can answer in that survey. Actually, if you want to drive that priority, take the survey. How does this fit in or integrate with AdLumen MDR? So for those of you that don't know, Enable now has an MDR through AdLumen. Um, we are working basically with AdLumen to replace or integrate the vulnerability management system they're using with ours, with this one. So today they have a vulnerability management system built into the MDR. It works kind of mostly for them, um, but as more of a practitioner, services arm, they face the same challenges you guys face as MSPs around um, how to manage that in with good context. So we're actually treating AdLumen almost as another customer to build out this capability for them as well. So today there's no linkage between the AdLumen continuous vulnerability management and this vulnerability management, but that will change soon. Um, can we send scheduled reports using vulnerability information? Not yet. We will. We will be doing that. Um, uh, in later on down on the roadmap. We wanted to get to, immediate remediation. So if you wanted to do reports today, you just export them and send them yourselves. Um, let's see. Can we? This link to assets would be great, but it's not working in our N-sight. Okay, Flavio. If you want to ping me, my email address is on the next slide. So if you've got a problem, you can just send me an email straight up, or use that one-on-one link. But my email address is right here. It's jeff.green@enable.com. Um, I'm doing this backwards in order. Option to set vulnerability management to read only is grayed out for you. So right now, if you are a super admin or admin administrator, um, it is on by default if you're using the default super admin role. So you can't change it. If you want to, if you have someone who's not a super admin that you want to hide it from, you can change it from read only to not available. But right now, read only and not available are the only two permissions options. So if you're a super admin, that read only will be grayed out because you can't change it. We're working on a way to give you the ability to turn it off globally. But the challenge there is if I give you a way to turn it off globally, I'm going to give you a way to turn it back on globally. So that's what we are working on there. This is connected with assets views. So if you are not able to use asset view today because of you don't have all the features turned on, then you won't be able to use this yet. Um, if it's a problem or an issue, I can try and escalate that. So again, use that one-on-one meeting link or send me an email and I'll get that sorted out for you. So same filters is a feature coming for the Ecoverse overall. So if you create a filter, it will remember your last filter, but it does not, we don't yet have saved filters. So once we have saved filters in assets view, it will come down into vulnerability view as well. So that's a Ecoverse roadmap item that is right around the corner. How does the vulnerability scanning engine compare to Nessus? Similar. What we're doing today is basically taking in a software inventory of the installed software and comparing that to known vulnerabilities cloud side. So it's similar in that sense where we're doing a software asset management inventory, but we are looking also to do potentially in the future configuration items, other non-software related vulnerability management. So that's where we would get a lot broader towards Nessus. And then the other question out there is, how important is a network-driven scan of open ports and things of that nature? So that is on the roadmap as well at some point, but we're trying to get done with the software asset vulnerability first. But again, if it's a priority for you, ping me one-on-one, take the survey, upload it, all of those would be great. Um, is there a possibility to filter for servers? Right now, we can filter by OS, but we don't yet have the ability to filter by platform, server, workstation, laptop. That is something we're looking into. It is actually a question in the survey. So, if you feel strongly about it, take the survey, upload it. Um, where do we get our vulnerability data from? So there's a multiple different threat feeds that we take the vulnerability from. Primarily, we are taking it from NIST and the National Vulnerability Database. So we are scanning for roughly about 1,000 or so, maybe a little bit shy, like I think it was like 987 different third-party application software packages like Acrobat, Microsoft, runtimes, pretty much, you know, the the big things that you would expect to see on an endpoint. So we get that feed, and then we compare it to the vulnerabilities with uh, with NVD. Um, if your vulnerabilities board is empty, but you can see it, it may be an issue where you are not using enable login. If you're still having problems, if you're using enable login, and you have, you know, you're up and running, open a support case, ping me, send me an email, one-on-one. We'll get you going. N-central only patches a certain number of third-party products. Are you planning on including Winget or Chocolatey to help remediate this? So my area of responsibility isn't necessarily patch, but that's not to say that I don't understand what we're doing there. We are looking to expand the number of third-party applications that we support with the new patch engine that we're building into Ecoverse. Um, the patch availability in vulnerability management actually it does use a broader set of um, information, obviously, because we're going back to the actual vulnerability database. Um, and if we tell you that there's an update available in vulnerability management, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's an update that Enable can deploy. It means that there is an update available from the manufacturer that can remediate the vulnerability. So we are already starting to broaden our view on vulnerabilities on those third-party applications. Um, we scan for more third-party applications than in vulnerability management than we do in the current patch management. So we're already starting to make moves there. As far as Winget or Chocolatey, um, I'm not sure if the how close to being ready or able the patch management team is on making that, but I'll take that and I'll pass it up uh, to the patch management team and have them get back to you on that question. I just don't have the direct answer, and I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. Um, let's see here. Can we fetch the vulnerability information using API from N-central or Sentinel-1? So everything you see in the vulnerability management screens is actually driven by an API. But that public API is not yet ready to be released because we've got a couple of things we've got to do to secure access to it. So stay tuned. Next couple of weeks, next couple of months, the developer portal for Enable, you will start to see some of those cloud-based, Ecoverse-based APIs made available. And yes, so once those Ecoverse APIs are made available and you've got the ability to issue a token for those APIs, you'll be able to pull all the stuff you see in the vulnerability management screen. You'll be able to pull that out through API as well. So I'm excited about that coming as a thing as well. So let's see here. I'm not able to. Is this currently available for 2025.2.11 or do I need to upgrade? So it is available for 2025.2 anything. So if you have N-central 25.2 or higher, and you have enable login, you're logging in with an SSO login, and you're have your analytics cloud opt-in turned on, then vulnerability should show up. You'll by default, if unless you're a super admin, you won't see it. So your super admins will see it initially, and then they can assign permissions to other users to see it. So obviously, out of the box, if you need to see it, you also need to be a super admin. But anything 2025.2 or higher with those other prerequisites, enable SSO, login, and the cloud and analytics opt-in turned on. Those are the prerequisites. Um, let's see. There's a lot of questions. That's good. Um, will there be reports that correspond to tracking and remediations per asset so we can present to customers the trends of vulnerability management? Yes, we are planning to have full vulnerability lifecycle reporting. We'll be integrating it into the analytics offering, as well as adding a couple of other actions that are vulnerability specific, like accept the risk or suppress the warning, because there are sometimes vulnerabilities you can't remediate with, and you just have to accept them. But what we're going to do there is we're going to build a full life cycle around that remediation. So if you say ignore the risk, we're not going to let you just ignore it forever. We're gonna prompt you to put a timer on when to come back and revisit it. We're also looking to have that ignore kind of reset or prompt you that, hey, the conditions of this risk has changed. So, for instance, if it's a risk today and you ignore it, but now it's a risk that's being actively exploited tomorrow, we're going to come back and say, are you sure you're still okay with this risk? We understand that you have to ignore or accept risks. It's the reality of that we live in. But we're going to give you the ability to manage those life cycles, and then yes, we'll give you that reporting over, how long did it take to remediate, how many vulnerabilities per asset, those types of metrics. We're definitely looking to put into that reporting and analytics side of things um, here in the next couple of quarters. Um, let's see here. There was another question. Um, I'm not able to see. Assets at risks, action menu. How do we populate the actions? Right now, the actions are populated automatically by what you can do with that asset. If it is running, if it's available, running, if you can reboot it, what have you. Um, there's no way to customize those actions quite yet, but there will be at some point in the future. Can you remediate directly from vulnerabilities? Not yet. So if you're in the vulnerabilities view, the only remediation you can do right now is link through to the asset. We will be adding the ability to scan now, ignore risk, reboot, and take control. Those 4 things will be in the actions menu and probably in sometime in the next quarter. They'll come out in chunks. And then the patch now for that vulnerability will probably start to filter in next quarter or rest of this year. We are using our own engine to do the vulnerability scan. We're not using Sentinel-1 or something else. So it's part of the modern agent, or what's sometimes referred to as the UFA or unified agent. So you do have to be running that newer modern agent deployed on your endpoints to get vulnerability scans. How is this priced? Well, that's a good question. That's something I didn't cover. It's included in your N-sight or N-central license today. So if it's a managed endpoint, we will do this vulnerability scanning and reporting for you at no additional cost. So we're adding value without adding cost. How's that for fun times? We don't yet have client-facing reporting developed. Are there any kind of client-facing reports? Not yet, but again, we're back half of this year is focused on getting some of that analytics built. Um, I find that times the vulnerability for an application which N-central can't patch. Yep, that is true. That's because we're using a newer engine in vulnerability management than we are using in the patch management engine, and the patch team is pedaling very fast to upgrade that patch management engine to use kind of the newer framework and architecture that vulnerability management is using. So stay tuned. Now, I believe they're starting a closed beta on that soon, and then open beta will come through the later later part of this year. Let's see here. Be great if the export included the asset names. It should be, but if it's not, I'll get that fixed because it should. The export should absolutely have the asset name in the export. Um, Currently, we have monitoring with Datadog and have mobile phone widgets. So if something is odd, we receive a screen a severity case. Is enable improving their mobile apps also. Uh, so the newer views that we're building for Ecoverse are probably better at being mobile ready, but I don't know that we're really working on a mobile app specifically. Um, but I would have to refer you back to for that question. I'd have to refer you back to the uh, RMM folks as far as that capability goes. Let's see here. Is there a way to add notes to vulnerabilities, such as customer accepts this risk? Yes, that will be in that acceptance interactive. So when you accept it, you'll be able to put notes in of why you did that. Um, could you give an example of planned AI remediation feature? What sort of actions would AI agent be able to perform? So, at this point, we're still kind of in that explorations phase, but when we are talking about AI actions, I think, the initial workflow is probably something along the lines of, um, hey, we've looked at your environment. Here are all these assets. Here is a remediation plan that we think you should do. Right. So the AI recommendations that would kind of lay out, apply this patch, reboot the system, uninstall this software because nobody uses it, accept this risk because uh, because we somehow know that you need to run that version, right? So those are the types of AI interactions we would expect where the AI is able to look at the large span of data, make those correlations and make those recommendations with some limited amount of reasoning. Um, and then you would then be able to say, "Yep, I like that plan," or "No, how about you change that and here's why," so that it remembers next time. Uh, so I don't think we're ready all the way to just go straight up AI autonomous remediation. Um, we'll probably land more in policy driven remediation, similar to what you're doing with N-sight and N-central to start there, where you can say if this vulnerability, if the system has a vulnerability of X severity and it's you know you know apply the patch automatically, right? That's more of a directed policy driven. The AI is really what we're looking to do with the AI initially is really more make broader stroke recommendations and try and kind of take out some of the grunt work of picking through the list and deciding what you want to do. Having the AI make broader stroke recommendations, and then once you're okay with what it recommends, you say, "Yep, go ahead, do that." What will OS scanning look like? Will it include reg keys? So initially, OS scanning is going to look at OS build number that we have versus current OS build number, and tell you what's installed versus what's missing, and basically give you kind of that. Uh, it's a little bit more involved than missing patches, but in effect, it's what open vulnerabilities exist on the version of the OS platform and the modules that you have. Um, to look at registry scanning and configuration settings, that's another area that we're looking at doing. Definitely take a look in the vulnerability survey around what upload that there or ping me one on one with your thoughts. But the initial round of OS vulnerability scanning is going to pretty much be, a Windows update missing patches or Linux, or a package manager, what's missing, um, with a little bit more detail on what impact those missing things have from a CVE perspective. That's the starting point, not the ending point, but it's the starting point. Um, our plans to get Vuln Manager and PCI as a PCI DSS accepted scanner. Yes, so there's a huge compliance uh, initiative underway with Enable overall, right? As we move, and you've probably heard of the CMMC efforts, um, and other efforts there. So yes, getting it accepted as a PCI DSS scanner would definitely be on the list of things to do. But before we even apply, we have to actually be good enough to qualify. So that's my first priority, is get us to the point where we qualify as hitting the mark, and then it's easy to get accepted when you can do the job. How often do you scan for vulnerabilities? So how quickly will it show vulnerabilities? So today, we scan every 6 hours for changes in the software inventory. So we don't actually scan for vulnerabilities on the endpoint. We scan for changes in the software that's installed, and then we ship that list off to the cloud, and then we compare that list to known vulnerabilities. So that software scan happens every 6 hours. It's just a delta scan after the initial scan, so it's very lightweight. Um, we get updates to current vulnerabilities in our cloud engine, sometimes uh, uh, on a minute by minute basis, depending on how rapidly those vulnerabilities are registered. So once those vulnerabilities are changed on the cloud system, we recompare the assets that are installed versus the vulnerabilities that are available. So we're constantly reprocessing. So um, if a new vulnerability comes out that applies to a software asset that's on the endpoint, um, that will show up pretty quickly. But updates to what is on the actual asset happen every 6 hours if the device is online. That's one of the other reasons why we, in the next quarter, we're introducing the scan now function. So you'll be able to schedule a scan now instead of waiting, and closing off that vulnerability then. Um, will there be an option to install the fix? Yes, that will be coming probably in the second half, later in the year. Um, is there any chance that you'll be able to provide a button that will just remediate the threats on the affected devices, like a magic fix all button? Absolutely something we'd like to get to. But as you probably know, there's generally no magic wand for every threat. But uninstall software will be one of those options. So you'll be able to uninstall the software if you don't need it, or it's not being used, or the threat outweighs the benefit. So we will be adding that uninstall. Um, and I think that's where AI maybe comes in and says, if you click the magic wand, it comes back with a proposed plan of how to remediate everything on that asset. So that may be a place where AI comes in and makes it a little bit easier than us trying to figure out every possible edge case. Um, let's see. Just trying to make sure we only got a couple more minutes here, and there's just a ton of questions, which is great. I love that. Um, please put the slide up with your email again. Yes, sure. There you go. There's my email. So if you if you need my email or want to send me an email, by all means, I'm available to work through any questions or problems you have. And if I can't get you to the right place, uh, then we're both in trouble. So either I'll get it sorted or I'll get you to the right place. Can you turn on or off vulnerability management on a per client basis? Today, no. Um, you can only hide it. In the one of the initiatives we're working on for the next coming quarter, we'll be giving you the ability to be more selective on what it's turned on for or not. But the software scanner that we're using to get a list of installed applications, that won't be turned off, because we're using that same scanner to build out the software inventory management modules in Ecoverse as well. So that's the other thing that you're going to see as a part of this is we're using that same software asset inventory um, for vulnerability management as we will be to show you, the software assets installed through the Ecoverse asset details. So, as we move forward on that Ecoverse journey, you start to see how we kind of start to get double duty, and we're picking up speed because we're introducing additional functionality that builds on each other. Um, all right, I think maybe I have hit almost all the questions in the questions page. We've got 10 seconds left. So I think if there are any other questions or any other things that you need, you've got my email address. By all means, reach out. I'll set time aside. We'll get you going. And I appreciate you guys coming to our webinar today.